And we have Through Ultan's Door issue number 2 as we continue on with these zines. I will be spoiling this, so don't watch it. I'll have a link down in the description, of course, if you want to pick up the PDF on ttrpg. It's got a great Russ Nicholson cover on it. It depicts the terrible chum spouts. These 3 statues, in essence, spew forth from their mouth chum of human beings into the sewer water as jeweled flies fly around. You've got these curved stairs that lead deep into the catacombs of the Fleisch Guild. Very cool stuff. We've got another encounter card. It's got all of our creatures that we may face or turds that we may come across. And then, of course, we've got a great map that encompasses the cover here of the Catacombs of the Fleisch Guild. Here's the sewer river, you may remember from the first issue, and these are the chum spouts, and then you'll go in, up through those crooked stairs, and you'll decide which direction to go, and then you're going to run across many different tombs and catacombs of the Fleisch Guild. So let's take a look at the actual book. It's 36 pages. It's got, the first thing it has is some rules for the Shades of Zion, telling you a little bit more about them, the undead of the catacombs. And then you've got this great piece of art here. This depicts, I believe, a flayed one, which I'll explain about those in a minute. The house rules for Slumberland. The first rule is a shifting cast. In essence, if you're at the table, then your character is present in the game. If you're not at the table, your character is not present. If you show up late, then your character is suddenly alongside their comrades. If you have to leave early, your character disappears, but it cannot be used to cheat. It cannot be used strategically by the player. The second house rule is I've dreamt of this place before. At 3rd level and every 3 levels thereafter, you're going to roll a d6 and you're going to consult the following table. So the first one is I have dreamt of a place of peril and reward. The player will come up with a perilous Dreamlands location that holds a reward, and the DM will place it on the map. If the players visit the location, the dreamer receives 300 experience per level. It's the same thing with a place of wonder, a terrible creature. If you are able to defeat it, you find a marvelous artifact, or you're able to dream of a strange group. The last one is you've dreamt of this place before, and whenever you use it, which you can only use it once, the DM must reveal one secret about the location that they're in. This is very clever, especially for adventuring in Dreamlands. And then you've got the Catacombs of the Fleisch Guild factions. And the first is the Fleisch Guilders, and they are sacred butchers, exalted flayers that labor tirelessly at their exacting arts, often offering sacrifices to appease the insatiable hunger of the unrelenting archons. And their holiest guild sites in the Undercity are marked by ornate chum spouts, as you can see here. So it says that they are visited regularly, these catacombs are, as they descend the secret stairs in the small abattoir on Charnel Hill to maintain the tombs, hold rites for the dead, and check on sacred artifacts housed there. They wear serene copper masks and purple robes. They come reluctant and skittish, clutching butcher's tools as weapons, thinking the catacombs haunted and dangerous. If you have a mask of one of the other guilds, they will cite the authority of the injunction of maggots that bars the visitation of one guild to the resting places of the dead of another. Those wearing the mask of the Fleisch Guild might squeak by with a good cover story. Unmasked intruders are treated as pariah scum. Should you leave visible signs of your incursions into the catacombs, such as broken tombs, open sarcophagi, unwrapped mummies, these will eventually be discovered by the Fleisch Guilders. For the response, you will see the escalating tensions. Well, I'll explain in a little bit here. Next, you have the flayed heretics. In essence, they have questioned the authority of the Fleisch Guild, and they've whispered sedition and scheming treachery, and for their heresy, they were tortured and cursed by the Inquisitors to serve in death those they betrayed in life. The shades bear the gruesome punishment they suffered for their treason. The tan skin of their faces spread like a hideous mask before their flayed skull, stretched out on fish hooks across the frame of a headdress, hanging taut and expressionless before the exposed flesh of their head. They are otherwise intact and naked, but for loincloths, bearing burnished scimitars in their muscular arms. Their charge is guarding the catacombs from tomb robbers, probably the PCs, and interlopers, expelling violently if necessary those who do not belong amongst the holy dead. And they are led by their chief traitor, Amar Amulcus. And so He may be able to he might kick you out of there, but he may, because he hates the Fleisch Guild, he may give you a little bit of information. Then you've got the Muttering Dead, in essence unwilling sacrificial victims whose remains pass through the chum spouts into the slurry before the catacombs. They wear ragged clothes, clustering together in an insubstantial and disturbed chorus. Each clutches their pitiful remains assembled from the chum spouts, an ear, a rotten liver, a scalp. And they know the catacombs, and if spurred, they wail and hurl epithets pursuing the party. If humored, they suggest intermittent in the dainty sarcophagi of the child prodigies. Fighting jealously over burial location, laying curses on the party if they feel their rivals in the chorus have received better burials. They will never allow their remains to be interred with anyone else, including the sarcophagus' original occupants. If given proper burial, they simply disappear. Then you have Zadu, sanguinary demon of Vulgatus. The blood of the innocents was its portal to this place, drawn from the blooming temples and otherworldly precincts of the true temple of Vulgatus. It seeks out the heart of Haldakar, a holy gem, for which it desperately lusts. It is a tall tangle of vines and capillaries in a roughly humanoid shape. There's a great piece of art of it in the back that I'll show you. And its speech is barely an intelligible rasping of a man burbling phrases through a torrent of blood. And so it seeks out the heart. There is a set of columns that has a cleric spell in it that it cannot cast, that will take the occupants of the room to the place where the heart of Haldakar rests. Should it acquire the gem, this terrible demon, it absorbs it into its form as its beating heart, growing alarmingly in strength and stature. When it attacks, it bores its squirming capillaries into the flesh of its victim, draining their blood and swelling and gorged with joyful sustenance. Again, we have that great flowery writing here in this zine, much like the first one. So then you've got escalating tension. So as you start messing with this place, session over session, you're going to have certain phases that are going to start to happen in which the Fleisch Guild start to change to protect their tombs. And so the first is going to be the phase 1, the guard duty. They're going to have one apprentice hunter will be stationed on each stairway with a lantern, light visible from the river. The other areas will be in area 2, which will be right here. As you can see, there's the chum spouts and there's number 2. So as they're trying to protect their catacombs. Next will be the muscle tenders. They'll also be throughout there. They're a little bit different and they're big. They've got blowguns and bullwhips. And they also have, the muscle tenders can unleash these terrible muscle jellies, which I love that name, the muscle jellies. And I'll explain about those later. So they'll continue to go until they seal off the catacombs altogether. And there'll be double chance of random encounters. And here's some of them here of the Fleisch Guild. Then you've got your encounters, these terrible moths here that will try to slash and pierce you. Muscle jellies, in essence, it says, coalescing in the chum slick, these raw conglomerates pull themselves into the catacombs like a massive tongue of bloody muscle attacking anything living with a blind rage and explosive violence. Their only sense is touch, through which they are able to sense subtle vibrations. They are not undead and will not be turned by clerics. Then you have the jeweled flies, which you will see here. They will make you, their bite will make you save versus disease, and you'll get malaria, which is terrible. They're drawn to the chum spouts. These huge insects are now lost in the catacombs. They attack the wounded and bloodied, otherwise following the party until blood is spilled or the party leads them to the spouts. Next, we have these fat spirits. They are gelatinous white, composed of folds of rich fat, with faces sit in their chests. They try to speak, desperate to rejoin a whole body. They are constantly fed upon by the predators of the catacombs. And they will try to pretty much paralyze or make you drop a weapon in their grease. They receive half damage from melee and missile weapons, but double damage from fire. Then you have the Muttering Dead, the shades of sacrificial victims. You've got the flayed ones, and of course there are signs here. If you see boot tracks of red clay, you may know that you're close to finding some flayed ones. And so they will fight with fearless abandon. The Fleisch Guildmen, they have come to unclog one of the backed up chum spouts. They carry pole arms mounted with saws. A handle at the base attached to the chain turns them rapidly. And the journeyman butcher carries an alarmingly large cleaver. And then you've got Zadu, the sanguinary demon, tall and peerless, a tangle of veins and capillaries in a roughly humanoid shape. And then you've got your key. So a lot of this dungeon crawl is going to be in these catacombs. You're going to have the chum spouts with jeweled flies. And then as you go up the stairs, you'll have the entryway here. And again, there's some great writing and just the feel of this place, of the flickering torches, brass sconces. There are a lot of frescoes and sarcophagi that are ornately painted upon or carved all throughout this catacomb here. There is a mural that you'll find here, and it is a fresco of sacrifice. Children are ushered towards an altar on which a fabulous beast is restrained by a matronly figure. And then a man in a serene copper mask holds a serrated implement in one hand, his other hand dramatically gestures, peeling back the skin of the trembling beast. So every single room is just, it seems very ornate. It seems very kind of depicting something that's very unique, in which it's definitely about the Fleisch Guild and what they do, the chum spouts and the sarcophagi, the tombs, and overall it's just got a really cool vibe to it. And then you're going to go to a series of tombs here, such as the tomb of the child prodigies. There's a trap. I like how it tells you that there's a trap there. And you're going to have several sarcophagi down here at the bottom. You'll have multiple places to go within it. And you're going to have possibly one of these sarcophagi has got a terrible trap in it, which you do not want to face, of course. Open a sarcophagi and unwrapping, searching the mummies that are within them. There's a bunch of treasure that's in this. Not a lot of actual weapons and armor, or magical weapons and armor, but just a lot of actual physical things that you can sell for money. And here's the trap. It tells you which ones of the 2 rows of sarcophagi are trapped, and you do not obviously want to open those up, as there's a poisonous gas that will spread within a 10-foot diameter, save or die in 3 rounds, coughing up your lungs. And then over here, you're going to enter into the tomb of the pedagogues. And so these 2 dead teachers here, there's 2 of them. You can see their sarcophagi actually are attached to one another here in this piece of the map art here. This is kind of like her area, and this is kind of like his. There's some secret doors behind frescoes. There's a lot of frescoes in this that can be broken down. And a very clever trap is above them. Their hands in their sarcophagi are touching, and should those hands become no longer touching, then there is a brazier above them that will pour forth tons of these moths that will try to murder you. There is lots of loot in here, but overall it just has a really detailed, descriptive, design for these sarcophagi and the rooms that they're in. So both of these here of Hezekiah and Sophia the Anatomist. You're going to have the Great Hall, which of course you will see here. It'll lead off in multiple directions. It'll lead off to number 10, which is the Hall of the Animal Sarcophagi, with various different small mummies in little tiny coffins that you can explore, of course. A lot of them will be worth a lot of money. A lot of this stuff is worth money, which I like that. There's just not a lot of actual usable stuff that you'll find in this zine. Then you've got the Tomb of the Animal Saviors. It is trapped as well. So again, I do like that. This is number 12, as you can see here. There's a kind of a hex floor. All these vases here will, should you go past these scimitars that are on the walls, then the body parts that are in these vases will break apart and try to reanimate, in essence, the bodies that are in the sarcophagi to the north. It's a very cool and can be a cool visual trap that your unfortunate PCs will spring, which will be pretty neat. You've got the ossuary here that, of course, is trapped as well. This is the staircase that's going to take you up to the small abattoir that they talk about. The organ candle is very neat. It's a massive candle that burns with an oily flame. The wax, like drifting fat, has melted away in a rivulet down the front, revealing fleshy veins and organs fashioned from red and blue wax. So again, it just has this great design to it. It's very elegant, very kind of disturbing, but neat. The sacred columns here that you'll find in 16 is going to have the the clerical spell that you'll need in order to enter into a secret room that is in here at number 23. These are a bunch of different tombs as well, all these that circle this area here in the middle. And this is an underground kind of tunnel here that lies beneath where the heart of Haldakar is. Here is that terrible demon. That is all veins. I love this piece of art. It's fantastic. And different shrines will have different inscriptions depicting who is in there from the Fleisch Guild. Of course, it shows which ones are trapped, such as the heart of Haldakar when you find it. Then you have your reliquaries here in number 25, and that's going to be down here as you pick this eastern from the entrance. And then you're going to continue on Hall of Immaculate Instruments, the entrance to the Tomb of the Overcarver. I love that name. I think that's fantastic. And then Tomb of Kinnaman, the Overcarver itself, which is going to be right here in 28. Again, a lot of sarcophagi, a lot of coffins, a lot of mummies, and just really neat. And the whole time, you'll be facing some of the creatures that will show up on the random encounters. Some neat things here. A lot of like pieces of bodies inside vases that you will find and explore. There's the porcelain abattoir here. It's also trapped. Again, I love the fact that let you know that what is trapped and what isn't. And then you have the crypts of the sub-carvers and the tomb of Hakor, the flesh alchemist. And this is going to be kind of, in essence, your finale as you approach number 31 here, this secret door. And it's very well described how each one of these rooms are very colorful and very much in the vein of the Fleisch Guild. And you're going to have to ward off a bunch of fat spirits. So very neat. And then you've got the items. So you've got the amulet of the consul designate. It's kind of like a silver seal of cat's paw print surrounded by starlight gems that twinkle in a mischievous inner light. It is, again, worth a lot of money. And then you've got the spatter half, which I love this, the way it's described. The long alchemical blade of the spatter half is fashioned from a semi-transparent flesh-colored metal. Just beneath its surface, blue imperfections are visible like tangled veins. The handle is bone with an intricate silver censer for a pommel, into which can be put tiny bricks of pleasing incense or holy oil. Is an intelligent blade whose purpose is sacred slaughter. So it's written so well. It's got such a great description of how it is, and it shows all the stats here. And what you're going to have is you're going to have a skill that you may be able to get in this dungeon crawl here called Sacred Butchery. And as you go up, you're going to, in essence, unlock kind of more powers with the spatter half. It'll attack like a longsword +1, its damage and powers, and it can do other things as well. Wound of Haldakar, bleed 1 hit point per round until wound is bound. It can steal senses. It can make people save versus death at -6 or be instantly and entirely flayed, taking 46 per round. That's if you're a Grand Master in Sacred Butchery. So just a very cool magical weapon here that's in the adventure. You've got some spells, the Maggot Ward. The spell preserves a corpse or body part from corruption, fatten the herd. The spell renders the target succulent with muscles rich in marbled fat, thigh meat encased in folds of white lard, and so on. Sacrificial ecstasy. They experience pleasure from wounds instead of pain. That's going to be helpful. And then reveal anatomy. Great piece of art here. Phantasmal display of the inner anatomy of any specimen, living or dead, within range for the spell's duration. The phantasmal ray appears alongside the being and can display a particular region of the specimen's interior, specified organs, or organic systems. The caster may cycle between those and switch targets once per round, but it's only granted the clerics of the Archon Vulgatus. But cool piece of art. And then we've got our credits. So here's the map once again. Here's our encounter card. Overall, it is very cool. It has just, every room is really well described in the book. It gives off a theme all throughout the catacombs of the Fleisch Guild that is coherent with one another. Elaborate sarcophagi, elaborate tombs, deadly traps all throughout it. There isn't a bunch of weapons and armor for you to grab in here, but some really cool creatures. And then you've got the Fleisch Guild, the flayed ones that are going to kind of be hunting you down and stopping you should you ransack this place too much. It seems to be really neat. I like this piece of art here for the map, and overall it's a great addition to this series of zines, and more fleshing out of Cyan and just this underworld here that dwells below. So there it is, Through Ultan's Door, issue number 2. I hope you've liked this. Thanks for subscribing, and look forward to the next video.